In 1942, Germany was having a tough time in the war. The US joined the fight, the UK didn't give up, and fighting both the US and Russia stretched Germany thin. Morale was low, and even Hitler's generals were starting to doubt him. To lift spirits, Joseph Goebbels spread stories about Wunderwaffe, or wonder weapons that could change the war. But how real were these claims? Germany did have a secret weapons program with scientists like Wernher von Braun working on new ideas. However, they didn't have enough time or money to make most of these ideas work. Some Wunderwaffe designs helped shape future technology, while others stayed on paper or ended in failure. Let's explore which inventions worked and which ones even scared Hitler. Chapter 1. The reality of Wunderwaffe. Germany was behind the Allies in one key area of naval power, aircraft carriers. To catch up, they started building the Graf Zeppelin, a huge carrier that could hold over 40 planes. It was started in 1936 but never finished and was sunk before Germany lost the war. Another project involved turning the luxury ship Europa into a carrier, but it ended up being used to carry troops after the US took it over. The Germans also planned to build H-class battleships, which were meant to be the biggest ships in their navy. However, they were never built because the focus shifted to upgrading older ships. U-boats were a major part of the Nazi navy, with ideas to create rocket-powered ones. Some tests were done, but they weren't ready for battle before the war ended. The Type 21 submarines, designed to stay underwater for longer, were built but came too late to make a difference. Chapter 2. Big ideas on land. On land, the Sture Emil anti-tank gun was used briefly before being captured by the Soviets. The Germans also created huge tanks, like the Landkreuzer Ratte, which would have weighed 1,000 tons, but the project was cancelled. A smaller tank, the Panzer VIII Maus, became the heaviest tank ever made but was too big and slow to be useful. Another strange creation was the Kugelpanzer, a rolling tank that looked more like a moving bunker but didn't see any action. In the end, these big ideas didn't help Germany win the war, and many of these machines are now on display in military museums. Chapter 3. Air power and rockets. Germany had big plans for air power. They built military gliders to move troops and supplies. The biggest was the Junkers Ju 322 Mammut, made mostly of wood to save metal. It could carry 44,000 pounds, but it was unstable and eventually scrapped for fuel. One major focus of the Wunderwaffe was air attacks, leading to the America Bomber project. Germany wanted a long-range bomber to hit American cities, especially New York. Two designs stood out, the Messerschmitt Me 264 and the Junkers Ju 390. Both showed promise, but neither went into full production, and their parts were destroyed before the war ended. Rockets were also a big interest, with Wernher von Braun leading the designs. But rockets were expensive, and most of the projects were stopped. Even though Hitler liked rockets, he preferred big guns. The Karlgerät was a huge mortar that could fire very powerful shots, but it was slow and costly. The Schwerer Gustav, a giant railway gun, could shoot almost 30 miles, but wasn't useful in real combat. Another idea was the Landkreuzer P 1500 Monster, a massive self-propelled gun. But like many other Wunderwaffe projects, it was cancelled because it was too hard to make and use in battle. Some Wunderwaffe projects were quite practical. Early planes were costly, so the Jagdfaust aimed to make them harder to shoot down. It was an anti-bomber rifle for the fast German rocket planes like the Comet. The Jagdfaust reduced recoil and allowed quicker firing, achieving its first kill in April 1945, too late to make a difference in the war. Preserving weapons was also important. Tanks, often lost in battle, were upgraded with night vision technology. Carl Zeiss AG developed the FG-1250 in 1941, one of the first night vision devices for tanks, proving that bigger wasn't always better. Intelligence was key for some weapons. The Fritz X bomb, a precursor to modern drones, was guided by radio control to hit targets accurately. It was effective in 1943, but soon faced Allied countermeasures. Chapter 4. The Quest for Ultimate Weapons. Some projects were more science fiction than reality. In 1929, physicist Hermann Oberth proposed a massive space station using sunlight as a weapon. At the time, Germany wasn't at war, so it might have been more about playing supervillain. However, during the Second World War, German scientists worked on a concept for a massive sun gun. This weapon was meant to generate so much energy it could destroy a city with one blast. The problem was that Germany didn't have a space program, and no one did at the time. They estimated it would take between 50 and 100 years to build the sun gun. Given Hitler's plans for a 1,000-year Reich, this might have seemed reasonable. But how strange were the Wunderwaffe projects? One of the most mysterious was Die Glocke, a bell-shaped superweapon. Polish journalist Igor Witkowski claimed in 2000 that he uncovered this secret device, which supposedly never existed. Some thought it was an anti-gravity device or even related to time travel. However, there's no evidence that Die Glocke was real. Witkowski might have just created a story. Other Wunderwaffe projects also didn't come to life. The teams often focused on creating directed energy weapons. Imagine a gun that never runs out of ammo and only needs recharging. While the technology for such devices, like Star Trek phasers, wasn't available, they tried anyway. Their first attempt was a sonic cannon that used high-intensity vibrations to kill. It worked, but was too costly and vulnerable to be practical in combat. The scientists also looked into X-ray beams to shoot down aircraft, but their test electron accelerator was captured by the Americans. People have wondered for decades how close the Wunderwaffe came to making the ultimate weapon. After discovering nuclear fission in 1938, Hitler quickly started a nuclear bomb project. Although it was shut down before the invasion of Poland, another project began as the Nazis started making nuclear reactors, uranium, and heavy water. Despite continued funding, the German nuclear bomb project struggled due to a lack of staff and many scientists leaving for other projects. The Allies dismantled the project after the war. So, what went wrong with the Wunderwaffe? The projects were spread too thin, and many were scrapped after failed tests. Scientists had to deal with conflicting pressures from Hitler's big plans and budget cuts. Many inventions came too late to make a difference in the war. Today, the Kubinka Tank Museum benefits from the Wunderwaffe, which provides many of its top exhibits. What do you think of these Nazi innovations? Were any of them close to changing the outcome of the war? Let us know in the comments below, and see you next time.